Hi guys, welcome back to a simple low carb life video series. And we are now about to begin Module 10, Video 2, which is Maneuvering Social Functions. Now, this is a topic that everyone, every single person, struggles with from time to time in their life in how to maneuver social functions and avoid eating foods that are not healthy for you because they're offered to you by someone that's a friend or a colleague or your family. So, how do you maneuver that and keep your social graces intact? I have to say that in my practice, essentially with patients or clients, the number one issue that people have problems with, as long as they're following the diet otherwise, is maneuvering social functions. And the hardest functions to maneuver are always the family ones. I think with colleagues and friends, you have an easier time setting boundaries. But the psychology of family interactions is complex and it's very difficult to say no to mom, even though you may be 50 years old. Uh, there's this larger than life aspect to your parents and your grandparents and people who are older than you that lorded over you when you were a child. So we're going to learn how to maneuver that. And again, the social events that are really the toughest are those with family. So let's go over some strategies on how you can politely decline and keep your diet intact and your friendships and your relationships intact as well. First off, remember, families always want us to remain the same, no matter how dysfunctional that may be or may have been when we were a child. So if you have friends that you've had for your entire life or family members that basically have raised you, they will always see you as that little child that you used to be, no matter how old you are. So when you change from that child, it's very disturbing to them and it challenges what they think about you. And they see us as who we were and not necessarily who we are now. It's a progressive family that can make that transition along with you. And so if you have chosen to have a healthier lifestyle, they will often challenge you on that. I know that all of us have been around someone that we used to, perhaps if we smoked in our previous life, um, that someone that still smokes, they resent the fact that you've quit smoking, mostly because they can't. And so they give you a hard time about it. Or if you are someplace where people are drinking alcohol and you used to drink along with them, and for whatever reason you just decline to have a drink, they often go off on you because they feel badly about themselves and they project that onto you. And so the same is true when you change your diet. People don't want you to get healthy, sadly, because they're not healthy. It's a strange and bizarre human behavior, but it's rather universal no matter what culture you live in. So we've all heard the, oh, come on, just one more dessert, one more drink, one more whatever, won't kill you. Come on, come on. So it's almost like the little devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. And which do you choose? And so when you're facing this kind of pressure, especially in a family function setting, we really need to have thought out some ready responses for when these comments arise and practice them so that it's comfortable when we challenge that. For example, what you could say, oh, come on, just one more dessert won't kill you. To the answer to that, you could sometimes just get by with saying, oh, no thanks, I'm good for now. And in many scenarios, that might be all you need to say. Unfortunately, that isn't every scenario, and some people's families are more controlling and manipulative than others. And so, if they still persist, here are some other things that you can do. Sometimes it just helps to just take the plate or the item offered, whatever it is, a drink or a cake or piece of pie, whatever. Just take it. And the caveat is just don't eat it. Well, if you don't eat it, then what are you going to do with it? Well, there are a couple things. One is you can discreetly discard it if it's a scenario where there are people up walking around and you're not just all seated at a table where everyone's watching you. At some point when you get up to clean your plate, you just discard it. In my experience, most people will not watch you and watch everything you eat if you simply just take the plate. What you want to do is probably take your fork or spoon, depending on what you were given, and act as though you have tasted it at least. Move it around on your plate so it doesn't look like it's intact from when it was handed to you. And most people will leave you alone at that point. Most, not all, unfortunately, especially if you're with your family. But if they push you further for any details or comment on why you aren't eating whatever that high carb item is, your next response can be something medical. And what I have found is people really don't know what to do with and come up with some little smart aleck response when you pose it as a medical problem. It really stops them in their tracks for most people. So, what you can say is something to the effect of, oh, well, my doctor wants me to cut back on sugars, starches, and carbs in an effort to improve my whatever blood pressure, cholesterol, sleep apnea, restless legs, your energy, your lupus, whatever you want to come up with, which is really true if your physician did have enough forward thinking to want you to do this, but unfortunately, most don't. But most people will stop pushing you at this point. Uh, Now, all of us have a family member that's really pushy and really annoying and obnoxious. All of us. There's someone in at least our extended family that does this. So if they push you further beyond that medical response, you can simply politely say something to the effect of, "Hey, I'm trying to eat healthier so that I can be around for my kids, my grandkids, my husband, my wife, my whatever." And then you can turn it around and compliment them by saying, "It really looks good though. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm good." And so at that point, most people will really leave you alone. Now, the same strategies that you use with annoying family members, you can always apply in any social setting, usually more easily when you're dealing with work contacts or casual friends because they're usually not as pushy. Usually you can just simply politely decline by saying, "Oh, I'm good, thanks." And in most scenarios, that's all you really need to say. If they persist, then go right to that medical response that we talked about, and you can say, "Sweets, alcohol, whatever that item is, really doesn't agree with me. Thank you, though." And so when you're offered alcohol specifically, and this is the one scenario when even social contacts will push you, and I would say probably more so than family in a lot of scenarios, then your first response can be just politely, "Oh, no thanks." Now, people who have a drinking problem or feel that they can't have fun without a drink or have always seen you in the past drinking, they're not going to stop at that point. They're going to keep pushing you because they honestly feel badly about themselves drinking excessively and has had most likely someone told them that they drink too much. So if you encounter this really pushy kind of a coworker, boss, or client regarding the alcohol issue, then like we took the plate before, just take the drink and take a small sip. And then once they feel that they have had a victory, and sadly that's what this is all about, is power struggle, then as the evening goes on, they're going to forget all about it because they're going to be drinking. And if they're a heavy drinker, they're going to be intoxicated and no longer going to be looking at you. So if they continue to push you, you can just simply say that you're full, or "I'm allergic to alcohol," or "alcohol doesn't agree with me, it upsets my stomach," or whatever you want to say to feel comfortable. If you have any friends that are alcoholics that aren't drinking, and they go to AA or whatever program, they usually don't offer that up to casual people in their lives because there's a lot of stigma associated with that. So often what they say is, "Oh, I'm allergic to alcohol." Well, who's really in their right mind is going to challenge that? So you can always use that excuse too. But, again, work with what's comfortable for you in your scenario and with your particular circumstances. But I would practice some lines that feel natural to you so that you have a couple of choices that are staged, that you try with the simple one first, and then you back up to the medical one, and then basically stand your ground politely. And you won't lose friends or family members by doing so. Just be polite and no thanks. Just remember, you are in control of what goes into your body, not someone else. And I honestly think that we don't change a whole lot emotionally in many cases from when we were in third grade and had that very concrete thinking of, well, they won't like me if I don't do X, Y, Z. And sadly, it doesn't matter if you have a high power position, if you're an attorney or a physician or whatever you rise to become in your life. Often people's hardest challenge in life is peer pressure. And they feel almost coerced into doing something that they don't want to do because they want that person to like them. Just remember, you can be polite and decline. And if they have issues with that, they're really not someone you need to have in your life. So just politely and kindly decline, but do so matter of factly and keep your line in the sand and then move on to another topic of conversation. If you stick with your low carbohydrate lifestyle, you might be surprised that others will follow you once they see that you've lost weight and that you feel better and that you're healthier. So, like the advice that we give to our kids, for those of us who have them, if someone is pushing you to do something that is contrary to your health or overall well-being, they do not have your best interest at heart. But unlike a child, as an adult, we have power to take control over our situation. And as an adult, we can always just simply say no. And what my purpose is here is to help you to be armed with tools so that you can say no politely. All right, we have just completed this video, Module 10, Video 2. And when you take a little break, we're going to go on to the next one. So we'll see you when you come back.